Jimmy Avila, a proud member of the Garifuna community, is a man who knows struggle. He battles schizoaffective disorder, periodontal disease, and stage 2 kidney disease. These invisible illnesses take their toll, but Jimmy's spirit remains unbroken. He faces another, more visible battle fighting for his right to safe and decent housing. This is the story of his resilience, his fight against injustice, and his unwavering pursuit of a place to call home. Jimmy's story is not unique. It is a story shared by countless individuals who face discrimination and exploitation in the housing market. It is a story of systemic failures, of broken promises, and of the human cost of greed. But it is also a story of hope, of resilience, and of the power of one man to stand up for what is right. In 2015, Jimmy experienced a moment of victory. He won a hard-fought legal battle against Odyssey House, a large New York City-based non-profit organization. Odyssey House, claiming to provide housing and support services, had subjected Jimmy to deplorable living conditions. The victory felt like a turning point, a sign that justice could prevail. But little did Jimmy know, his fight was far from over. The win against Odyssey House should have been a fresh start for Jimmy. It should have been a chance to rebuild his life in a safe and stable environment. But the victory was short-lived. It soon became clear that the fight against Odyssey House was just one battle in a much larger war. A war against a system rigged against the most vulnerable members of society. Jimmy soon found himself caught in the clutches of another housing network, the Acacia Network. This sprawling organization, claiming to serve low-income communities, operated under a shroud of deception. Multiple entities, interwoven and deliberately confusing, masked a pattern of predatory practices. Jimmy, along with countless others, became ensnared in their web of deceit. Acacia Network, with its maze of subsidiaries and affiliates, presented itself as a beacon of hope. It promised affordable housing, support services, and a chance at a better life. But beneath the veneer of compassion lay a ruthless pursuit of profit. Rent was extracted from tenants living in deplorable conditions. Promises of support were broken, and when tenants dared to speak out, they faced intimidation and retaliation. The apartments provided by Acacia Network were often uninhabitable. Mold infested the walls, ceilings crumbled, and vermin ran rampant. For Jimmy, battling multiple health conditions, these conditions were more than an inconvenience. They were a direct threat to his well-being. His pleas for repairs went unanswered, ignored by a system that prioritized profit over people. The physical deterioration of Jimmy's living space mirrored the decay of his hope. Every leak, every infestation, every broken promise chipped away at his spirit. He had fought so hard for a safe haven, a place to heal and rebuild his life. Yet he found himself trapped in a cycle of neglect and despair, his health deteriorating alongside the walls that confined him. Section 5. Facing threats and assault, a climate of fear. Jimmy's attempts to assert his rights were met with hostility. He faced threats and intimidation from individuals connected to the Acacia Network. In one terrifying incident, he was physically assaulted, a brutal reminder of the dangers he faced for daring to speak out. The message was clear: silence guarantees safety. But Jimmy refused to be silenced. The assault on Jimmy was not an isolated incident. It was part of a calculated campaign of fear and intimidation designed to silence dissent. Tenants who dared to organize to demand better conditions, to exercise their rights, were targeted. The message was clear: accept the unacceptable or face the consequences. Section 6. Seeking justice, navigating the legal labyrinth. Undeterred, Jimmy sought justice through the courts. He filed lawsuits, meticulously documenting the housing violations, the threats, and the assaults. The legal battles were arduous, draining his already limited resources. But Jimmy persisted, driven by a deep sense of injustice and a belief that everyone deserves a safe and decent place to live. The courtroom became Jimmy's battleground. He faced lawyers representing powerful institutions, lawyers skilled in deflecting blame and minimizing responsibility. The odds were stacked against him, yet he refused to back down. He knew his story needed to be told, that his experience exposed a system rotten to its core. Section 7. Breach of trust, broken promises and exploitation. Central to Jimmy's case were the agreements made and broken by the Acacia Network. These agreements, often shrouded in legal jargon and presented as acts of generosity, were nothing more than tools of exploitation. They promised support and stability but delivered hardship and despair. Jimmy's legal team fought to expose these broken promises, to hold the network accountable for its predatory practices. The broken agreements were a testament to the power imbalance that permeated the relationship between the Acacia Network and its tenants. The network, with its vast resources and legal expertise, held all the cards. Tenants, often desperate for housing and unfamiliar with their rights, were left vulnerable to exploitation. Section 8. The human cost of greed, a system rife with injustice. Jimmy's story is not just about one man's struggle for housing justice. It is an indictment of a system that allows such injustice to thrive. It lays bare the human cost of greed, the devastating impact of prioritizing profit over people. The case shines a light on the systemic issues that plague affordable housing, from discriminatory practices to inadequate oversight and enforcement. Jimmy's struggle is a stark reminder that housing is not a commodity, it is a fundamental human right. It is the foundation upon which people build their lives, raise their families, and contribute to their communities. When housing is treated as a profit-making enterprise, the human cost is immeasurable. Section 9. A community unites. Standing up for Jimmy Avila, Jimmy's fight resonated with others. Tenants, advocates, and community members rallied around him, demanding accountability and justice. They organized protests, shared their stories, and put pressure on elected officials to address the systemic failures that allowed such egregious abuses to occur. Jimmy, once a solitary voice, found strength in the solidarity of his community. The community's support was a lifeline for Jimmy. It reminded him that he was not alone, that his struggle was part of a larger fight for social justice. The outpouring of support gave him the strength to continue his legal battles, to keep pushing for systemic change, and to hold on to hope in the face of adversity. Section 10 of the fight continues, a call for justice and accountability. Jimmy Avila's fight for justice is ongoing. His story is a call to action, a demand for accountability from those who exploit the most vulnerable members of society. It is a reminder that the fight for safe, affordable, and dignified housing is a fight for human rights, a fight that requires unwavering commitment, collective action, and a refusal to accept anything less than justice for all. The fight for housing justice is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires sustained effort, unwavering commitment, and a belief in the power of collective action. Jimmy Avila's story is a stark reminder of the human cost of inaction. It is a call to action for all who believe in a just and equitable society, a society where everyone has a safe and affordable place to call home.